So, tsunami, I want to talk a little bit about tsunami. And tsunami is, well, a Japanese term because they have a lot of these waves coming. And they actually come from Hawaii. And often the flanks of the big Hawaiian islands, they have some landslides, submarine landslides, and that creates big waves, and they travel all the way across the Pacific to reach Japan. And this is why Japan has a lot of these problems, and the Fukushima disaster, where the tsunami hit the power plant not so long ago, is part of this problem. So, tsunami, they are forming from submarine earthquakes or from submarine volcanoes, more commonly, and massive flank collapses of volcanic islands would cause tsunami, and the Pacific is very prone to having tsunami. And in 1883, Krakatau erupted, and it produced a big tsunami as well, killing some 36,000 people, and almost 300 villages in coastal areas were destroyed. So this is a big problem. And not enough, in 2018, Krakatau erupted again and produced another tsunami, killing another 400 people. So we are still not really good at this. This is still a big problem out there. So this is Krakatau, and this is an artist's impression of the volcano prior to collapse, and then the remnant of the volcano, Rakata Island, in the lower image there. So you get a sense. Maybe the upper drawing is a little oversteepened for my flavor, but you get the idea. Much of this volcano collapsed, and there's this report of this Dutch steamer, the Barrow, and the Barrow was actually caught by the resulting tsunami wave and was now found almost 2 kilometers inland. It was swept into the jungle, and there it's still today. You see the image in the lower right. This is where the Barrow is today. I actually asked an Indonesian colleague recently what happened to the Barrow, and he says, oh, the local people have taken a lot of the iron now to work it. And the last I heard was there's a monkey colony now living in the ship. So this is Krakatau, and a new volcano grew, Anak Krakatau, the child of Krakatau, and it grew inside the caldera complex, and this new volcano in the bottom right, you can see it, collapsed again, as I said, in 2018, and in the top right, you see the outline of the volcano prior to the collapse and what's currently left there. And these volcanoes are very unstable, they're very explosive, and if they are sitting, for example, in the ocean, they actually cause devastating water waves, and they can, of course, devastate the surrounding. And the image in the middle bottom is the travel speed of the tsunami in minutes, and here you see within about 2 or 3 hours it reached the city of Jakarta, and there the tsunami was still measured. So, having talked about this, there is good evidence that there was a big tsunami here as well in the Canary Islands, several in fact. If you look at these anomalies here, these are actually giant landslide scars, and they would have made big tsunami when they collapsed, when large chunks of the islands broke off, falling into the ocean. Then you get a severe splash, and well, you can make some calculations. Some of these waves may well have reached across the Atlantic all the way to the eastern seaboard of the US, for instance. So, and the biggest scare that we have in the Canary Islands is the island of La Palma. It's volcanically very, very active. It had large landslides in the past, and there has been big media row about 25 years ago, and here's a few of those headlines there, about potentially a collapse of La Palma happening. And the calculations of the scientists at the time said there will be a giant wave reaching Florida if that happens within less than a day. Now, how real is that? Well, there was a big eruption just 2 years ago, and the island did not collapse. So I actually think we're pretty safe. It's very unlikely that the island will collapse very soon. But the real issue, the real debate started with that crack that I'm showing here in the central image. This crack opened up in the 1949 eruption, and it would allow the speculation that part of the island could break off and fall into the sea. But we had Not just the 1949 eruption, we had the 1971 eruption and now the 2021 eruption, and nothing happened. The island is stable. There's also monitoring equipment now. There's no movement on that flank. So this crack may have had a very different reason. It may not necessarily imply that the island will collapse right away. But can we be sure it will never collapse? No, we can't. At some point it might. But the probability is super, super small. It's very tiny. So I don't think any of us will actually witness a giant collapse in our lifetime. So this is the calculation, and this is from the original article about the travel speed. And the numbers are very, very small, but there it's about 9 hours, and then the wave would hit Florida in the bottom right hand on the right hand in the right hand image, and then there's an artist's impression here of this giant wave hitting the city. I personally think the wave may not be quite that tall, but well, geologically we cannot exclude that this will happen again.